Now, if, like me, you're one of the 5 million people in this country who have asthma, you'll know exactly what this is. And this morning, we are reporting that 3 people die from asthma attacks every day in the UK. New figures suggesting the majority of those deaths could have been prevented with better care.
We've been speaking to parents of children with the condition about how they manage it.
It's difficult to know how worried to be, but you do get very, very worried when they're having problems.
What tends to happen often is if she doesn't have her inhaler with her, she can start to panic a bit, and then that brings on the asthma and it gets even worse.
It can be quite scary, but I think as long as you know how to manage it and know what to do, then you'll be all right.
Well, let's speak about this with Kay Boycott, who's from Asthma UK, and Dr. Hilary as well. Very good morning to you both.
Morning.
Kay, the figures are almost half of deaths from asthma could have been avoided. I think it's around about 46, 47%. When we say they could have been avoided, what do we mean?
We mean, sadly, every day Asthma UK hears from families who've lost a loved one to asthma, and this report very sadly shows that with better management, so that's the basic routine care, but almost half those deaths could have been prevented. And by routine care, we mean getting the right medicines, being followed up after an asthma attack, understanding how to manage your condition, take your medicines.
It's the way, what you've touched on there, asthma medication is prescribed is a major factor, isn't it? What are they getting wrong, or what?
Well, we saw prescribing errors. Some people were being under-prescribed, so they weren't being given enough of the preventer inhalers, and other people were being given too many of the reliever inhalers.
So what's that one? The blue one is a...
That's a reliever.
That's a reliever.
Yeah.
So that relieves the symptoms, as the preventer's the one that can actually stop the attack.
Yeah, so what we'll say is that with an asthma attack, you'll need to start hours, days, weeks before. So if you've got hay fever, start taking your preventer before the hay fever season starts to prevent them. If you're having too many relievers, it means your asthma's out of control, and every 10 seconds, somebody is having a potentially fatal asthma attack.
Dr. Hilary, is this poor care from GPs? Is it because they don't understand asthma? Are they misprescribing? What's the problem, do you think?
I think asthma, by definition, is unpredictable. It comes and goes, and many people grow into it, many people grow out of it. But there are many different trigger factors. It could be a cold, it could be pollution, it could be cigarette smoke exposure. There are all sorts of different reasons why asthma can get suddenly worse. Now, there's no doubt that some people are using far too many reliever inhalers. Most people should have about 3 a year. We know from the evidence that we've seen in this report that some people are using 50 a year. Now, that means it's not under control, and they need to use preventer inhalers as well, or predominantly.
And why aren't GPs prescribing preventer inhalers?
I think that part of the problem is they don't have time to review patients enough. Patients need to be kept under review, or they need to be sent to a specialist or a GP with a special interest in asthma, so that they can adhere to a nationally agreed plan. Everyone's care seems to be different, doesn't it? And I think that's one of the problems, that there's no policy that everybody agrees on, but there is a stepwise plan which is very adequate if it's adhered to. So people need to go back to their GP if their symptoms aren't controlled, to be referred to a specialist if it's brittle asthma and it's causing problems. And the review needs to be kept, you know, the medication needs to be kept under review all the time, because it needs to change sometimes.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kay? Is that the sort of thing you'd like to see? Is there more that Asthma UK would like to see happening?
Well, the Royal College of Physicians themselves, who published the report, said it's time to end the complacency about asthma care. And I think because it's so common, and because it might not change, people can get, doctors and nurses can get a little bit complacent, but we need people to understand that it fluctuates, and more people to be aware of their risk. And every tier of the NHS needs to address that. If we were seeing these sorts of things happen in other conditions, there'd be a national outcry. We're just asking for the guidelines to be met.
Is that fair, Hilary?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's a common condition. Many people affected by asthma, so we need a very sensible approach, a logical approach, so that everyone gets this good quality of care, not just from the GP, but from specialised services as well, if necessary. And especially if they've been into hospital with one emergency, they need to be reviewed by the specialist care team as well, straight afterwards.